It was 5:47 a.m. when the HOA president rolled up my gravel drive in her gleaming white SUV, lights flashing like she was leading a parade. Two sheriff's deputies flanked her, one holding a clipboard, the other looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. She marched onto my porch, waving a demolition order like it was the Declaration of Independence. "Mr. Whitaker, your illegal structure will be razed by noon today," she announced, voice dripping with the kind of fake politeness that makes your teeth hurt. I stood there in my bathrobe, coffee in hand, and just stared. Because the joke was on her. My cabin wasn't on HOA land at all. It sat smack in the middle of Pike National Forest, federal land. And she had just handed me the keys to her own destruction. I'm Tom Whitaker. 3 years ago, my wife, Ellen, lost her battle with breast cancer. We'd always talked about building a quiet place in the mountains, somewhere the noise of the world couldn't reach. After the funeral, the suburban house felt like a tomb. So I sold it, took the inheritance from my grandfather, 2 acres of remote forest land I'd never even visited, and started building. Board by board. Nail by nail. Grief therapy with a hammer. The cabin is simple, 1,400 square feet, solar panels, a wood stove, a composting toilet that's basically a science project. My black lab, Scout, and I live up here at 8,200 feet, chopping wood, reading old paperbacks, and listening to the wind move through pines. It's the kind of peace you can't buy. Then Evelyn Hargrove moved in. She arrived 18 months ago from the Denver suburbs, driving a spotless Lexus with Hargrove Realty plates that never got dirty, even on our dirt roads. Within weeks, she'd bullied her way onto the HOA board and declared war on non-compliance. This woman measured grass with a ruler. She photographed garbage cans left out 5 minutes past pickup like they were crime scenes. She wore cashmere sweaters and stilettos to inspect driveways, clicking across gravel like a metronome of judgment. Her perfume arrived before she did, expensive, floral, suffocating. She targeted me because my rustic aesthetic supposedly lowered property values. Never mind that my nearest neighbor was half a mile away through dense forest. She'd cruise up unannounced, snapping photos of my solar panels, eyesores, my rain barrels, unsightly, even Scout's water dish, potential mosquito breeding ground. The woman once fined a widow for having too many hummingbird feeders. Said they attracted undesirable wildlife. Our first real clash happened on a chilly October morning. Leaves crunched underfoot. Wood smoke drifted through the valley. She marched up in a cream coat that probably cost more than my truck. Clipboard clutched like a weapon. "Mr. Whitaker," she began, voice syrupy, "your structure violates 7 architectural guidelines. The solar panels are non-conforming. The rain barrels are a health hazard. And that doghouse? It's an eyesore." I sipped my coffee. "Ma'am, I never signed any HOA covenant. This land's been in my family since 1985. She laughed. A sharp, practiced sound. "All properties in this subdivision are grandfathered in. You'll need to submit an architectural review application. Fee is $750. Then compliance costs. Those rain barrels will have to go." I pointed at the forest beyond my fence line. "See those trees? They're federal. Your HOA ends right there." Her smile didn't waver. "We'll see about that." That evening, I spread my grandfather's yellow deed on the kitchen table. The survey markers were still there, iron posts driven decades ago. But according to Evelyn's boundary map, my cabin sat 50 feet inside HOA territory. Something was off. Next morning, I called the county recorder. Old man Jenkins, who'd been there since the Nixon administration, chuckled when I explained. Son, there's been a mapping glitch on that plot for years. Your deed's solid. The HOA's map is optimistic. I smiled for the first time in months. Evelyn didn't waste time. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived, thick as a phone book, demanding $750 plus $75 daily fines until I brought my structure into compliance. She'd attached photos, solar panels, composting toilet, Scout's doghouse. She'd even circled my woodpile like it was contraband. But she'd copied the letter to the county building department and sheriff's office. Rookie mistake. I drove down to the county office that afternoon. Jenkins was there, sipping burnt coffee under fluorescent lights that hummed like dying bees. Tom, this lady's got less authority here than my cat has over traffic laws, he said, reading her letter. He pulled my file. Every permit stamped. Every inspection passed. You're golden. I made copies, including a letter from the county confirming no HOA approval was needed. Then I did some digging. Evelyn's HOA, their state registration had lapsed 7 months ago. Inactive. Red letters on the state website. Kind of hard to enforce rules when you're legally a ghost. She doubled down anyway. Filed a noise complaint about my generator. Deputy Ramirez showed up one evening, looking embarrassed. Mr. Whitaker, lady says your generator's disturbing the peace. I gestured at the empty forest. Deputy, my nearest neighbor is a mile away. Want to ask him if he can hear it. He looked around, then back at his notepad. This feels like a civil matter. About that, I said, showing him the state registry on my phone. Her HOA doesn't even exist anymore. His eyebrows shot up. She's been filing complaints left and right. We're starting to notice a pattern. After he left, I called my neighbor, Old Roy, a Vietnam vet with a voice like gravel. Tom, that woman's been after Mrs. Delaney too, he growled. Fined her for excessive bird feeders. Said they attract pests. The picture was clear. Evelyn wasn't just after me. She was systematically bullying anyone who didn't fit her vision of suburban perfection. Widows, veterans, retirees living simply. And every time someone buckled, a for sale sign appeared in their yard. Guess who listed the property? I started documenting. Photos, emails, timestamps, witness statements, military habit, intelligence beats firepower. Then she filed a lien against my property for unpaid assessments. A fraudulent piece of paper that would later become federal evidence. She organized a community safety meeting about my non-compliant structure. Invited the county inspector under false pretenses. The meeting was in the community center on a freezing Tuesday evening. Folding chairs scraped against linoleum. Wood smoke drifted in from outside. Evelyn stood at the podium with a PowerPoint titled, Preserving Neighborhood Integrity. She clicked through photos of my cabin like it was a crime scene. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, laser pointer shaking slightly. One resident refuses to comply with standards designed to protect all our investments. The county inspector raised his hand. Ma'am, I was told there were urgent safety violations. What am I looking at? Evelyn's smile flickered. Structural concerns. Sanitation issues. I stood up slowly, folder in hand. Inspector, would you like to see the permits showing my cabin exceeds every county code? For 10 minutes I laid it out. Permits. Inspections. Safety features. The inspector nodded. Mr. Whitaker, this is textbook off-grid construction. Most suburban homes don't have this level of backup. The room went quiet. Then I dropped the bomb. Before we adjourn, I'd like to share some patterns I've noticed in HOA enforcement. I pulled out a timeline. Mrs. Delaney fined for bird feeders until she considered selling. The Millers pressured over a fence that didn't exist. The Johnsons threatened with daily fines until they moved their RV. Murmurs rippled. Evelyn's face drained of color. That's not relevant, she snapped. Actually, it is, I said. Every case involved longtime residents who didn't fit your vision. And every time, a Hargrove Realty sign appeared shortly after. The room split. Old-timers shared stories. Newer residents, mostly her clients, defended her. As people filed out, Evelyn announced an emergency $4,000 assessment per household. I refused on the spot, citing the lapsed registration. Next morning she filed another lien. Christmas Eve she escalated. A process server showed up at dawn with a demolition notice. 2 deputies behind him. Structure comes down today for health and safety violations. I accepted the papers while Scout growled. Gentlemen, I said, hitting record on my phone. Before we proceed, you should see this. I pulled out the federal survey. My property, entirely within Pike National Forest. Federal land since 1923. The deputies exchanged looks. Evelyn's face went from smug to ghost white. I smiled. You've been filing fraudulent liens against federal property. Attempting extortion. Harassing a federal landowner. That's when FBI agent Morales and Forest Service investigator Hayes stepped forward from the shadows. Ms. Hargrove, Morales said, you're under arrest for wire fraud, attempted extortion, and filing false claims against government property. The room exploded. Evelyn sputtered as cuffs clicked. I had authority. I was protecting property values. Morales shrugged. You had about as much authority over federal land as you do over the moon. As they led her out, I turned to the crowd. This was never about standards. It was about a bully who thought paperwork and a loud voice made her untouchable. Applause rolled through the valley. Aftermath was swift. Evelyn's HOA collapsed overnight. Liens reversed. Fees refunded with interest. Her real estate license revoked. Civil suits lined up from harassed families. She faced federal charges, wire fraud, extortion, conspiracy. The FBI used her own obsessive documentation against her. 6 months later, I started the Mountain Veterans Legal Fund, free help for vets and seniors facing HOA harassment. We run workshops, how to check land maps, verify HOA status, spot intimidation disguised as community standards. A year on, the community's stronger. Mrs. Delaney added more bird feeders. The Johnsons stayed, their RV's now a barbecue spot. Roy hosts an annual Freedom from Tyranny cookout where people shred violation notices and roast marshmallows. Evelyn's serving 18 months in federal prison, plus 5 years probation. No more HOA boards for her. The mountain air still smells of pine and possibility. Scout and I watch sunsets. The only authority we hear is the wind. So tell me, was Evelyn Hargrove just enforcing reasonable rules? Or was she a power-hungry bully who finally met the law she pretended to represent? Drop your thoughts below. I'll read every one.